Hi everybody, glad to see you again. My name is Luke Mick, and today I am going to be reviewing a new Arrow Video Blu-ray release. It's not necessarily hot off the press, but it is now cooling on the windowsill with that delicious cherry pie. We have Ryuhei Kitamura's Versus. Now, when Arrow Video announced that they were going to be releasing a special edition of Versus on Blu-ray, I was very intrigued, mainly because I wasn't familiar with the film, which was very surprising to me because it seems like the sort of film that would be right up my alley. It's not a super uncommon film. It's a pretty popular cult film of Asian extreme cinema, but I'd never really heard of it, or at least it never stuck in my mind if I had heard of it. So when Arrow announced that they'd be releasing it on Blu-ray, I was very much on board with it. I was like, this sounds like an incredibly crazy movie that is just right up my alley, like I probably already said. So in the interest of time and simplicity, and just because this film is so crazy and there's no way that I can sum it up in a way that I feel does the film justice, I'm going to read the synopsis that Arrow has provided so you get an idea as to how off the wall Versus is. Here we go. A mysterious face-off in a wooded clearing between two escaped convicts and a carload of sharply dressed yakuza holding a beautiful woman captive ends in hails of bullets and showers of blood. These are really long sentences. I can't do this all in one breath. The location for this violent encounter is the mythic Forest of Resurrection, the site of the 444th portal of the 666 hidden gates that link this earthly domain to the netherworld, and it didn't get this name for nothing. As one of the surviving prisoners escapes with the girl into the darkness of the forest, disgruntled gangsters soon become the least of their worries as an earlier battle between a lone warrior against hordes of zombie samurai is carried over from a millennium ago into the present day. I think that's about as good a synopsis as you can give for a film like Versus, and really, it's not a film that's about the story. It's more about the experience and the humor mixed in and the violence and the filmmaking and just the success story that is Versus. There are a lot of films out there that sort of sell themselves and are marketed as being really crazy, like over-the-top films, and a lot of times it's too good to be true. Usually the film doesn't always live up to the insane plot of the film. But with Versus, they did such an incredible job at making a 2-hour movie consistently surprising, insane, off-the-wall, gonzo, bonkers. There are just so many adjectives I can use to describe the experience of Versus. I would say it's almost up there with the consistency of films like Evil Dead 2 or Mad Max Fury Road or Dead Alive. Those are all films that in my mind just keep up a consistent, just breakneck pace. There's always something either hilarious or action-packed or exciting happening. Versus is a non-stop film. That's the type of film that it is, and a lot of films try to do that, and sometimes they don't always succeed, but I think that given the budgetary constraints and just the production of the film in general, they made the most out of this film that they possibly could. Now, if you can't tell already, I really enjoyed Versus, and essentially, just so you get an understanding as to what this film is, I know the synopsis probably already tells you whether or not you're interested in it, but just in case some of you are still wondering and on the fence about if you think you would like the film, I would say that it is some sort of crazy blend of Evil Dead, mostly Evil Dead 2 with the camera work and the more slapstick humor, mixed with like The Matrix based on the fighting techniques and the wire work and the costuming. It is like a weird blend of The Matrix and Evil Dead, which is
awesome.
I'd never seen anything like that before. And if you don't know this about me, I love the Evil Dead films to death, and I love Sam Raimi as a filmmaker and the way he uses the camera and the zooms he does and everything. And Versus does a lot of that. Ryuhei Kitamura was definitely influenced by Sam Raimi. There's no doubt about it, and there are some special features on this disc that explain how he went to college in Australia, and he's made American films before, so he has a lot of Western influences in his filmmaking, and that's really clear in Versus, and it was just such an exciting, gonzo, violent, bloody, hilarious watch. And like I said, Versus was just so spectacular to me because even though it's a long film, it's a little tiny bit over 2 hours long, it's always consistently entertaining. And even though they're only in one location the entire time, it takes place all in the woods or on a riverside, it's always changing things up. There are always new types of fights. There are gun fights, there are zombie fights, there are fist fights, sword fights,
word fights.
It's just crazy.
The film, I think, delivers on all of the levels that it promises in its insane plot, in its insane sales pitch, if you will. So if you're into completely bonkers, off-the-wall, violent, humorous movies like The Evil Dead or Dead Alive, then you'll probably like Versus because it is very much like those films, and I just cannot believe it's taken me this long to realize that this film exists, because this is totally the type of film that I would love, and after watching it, I do love it. It was awesome. Versus was so cool, and it was just great. I loved it. Now I want to talk a little bit about the video and the audio because there is a bit of controversy surrounding that, I guess. Arrow had to put out a message or a disclaimer about it after the release of the film because people were unhappy with some color changes in the color grading of the film. And I'll get into that, but first I just want to explain what I read in the booklet here about the transfer. Hey, are you enjoying this video? Well, if you are, you should go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell as well to be notified whenever Luke Mick posts a new video. You can also find Luke Mick on Letterboxd, where he oftentimes writes reviews or logs the movies that he's been watching. And if you want channel updates, you can also go to his Luke Mick YouTube Instagram page, where he provides updates for the channel and just posts other weird, goofy pictures and things like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, just follow the instructions. Links for everything are down below, and enjoy the rest of this video. And everybody, this film was very low budget, and it was filmed on 16mm. It was all filmed on location, and the lighting was whatever the lighting was for the day, whatever the sky wanted to do, that's the way the movie's going to look. So it has a kind of inconsistent, odd look throughout. And then they transferred it to digital, they did the editing there, and then they moved it to 35mm intermediate prints. Now, I don't know too much about film, honestly, like physical film, and the process of using an actual film camera. I really don't know much about it, but just by reading that, it sounds unorthodox and really weird that that was the way that this film was constructed. Very low budget film though, maybe that's the norm, I don't know, but I get the impression that it's a little bit odd that that's what happened with the film.
Now,
the film looks really good, I think, on Blu-ray, and just so you're aware, this should be clear, but I had never seen Versus before watching this new Arrow Video Blu-ray, so I don't hold any sort of nostalgia or anything to what the film originally looked like, but I think I found examples of what some people were upset about. So basically, there were color filters applied to some scenes. I don't know how many scenes in the original film. So what you're seeing right now is the way it looks on this new Arrow Video Blu-ray release, and here is the exact same frame from what I believe is the original look of the film. You can see it has this very gold, yellow, amber color and filter on it. It makes the movie more stylized, I guess. It's kind of ugly looking, but it's a low budget, kind of ugly movie in a lot of ways, just based off the way it was filmed and the guerrilla filming style of the film. And I guess that the director, Kitamura, never liked having that filter on the film. It was like a last minute choice they had to make while editing because the lighting in the movie is so different across each scene because it was filmed in natural lighting that they had to do something to make it look like it fit in more. So they decided to go with like a crazy stylized color scheme in a few scenes, I guess. But he didn't like that choice, so they got rid of it. And now the movie looks more consistent throughout, which I think is fine. You know, like I said, someone like me who hasn't seen the movie before, I don't really hold any nostalgia for the way the film looked previously because, you know, I'd never seen it before, and I think it just looks good the way that Arrow did it. So I don't really care. I think it looks great, and that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Now, sound, I'm really not an audiophile. I only have a soundbar and a subwoofer. I don't get too nitpicky about the way the film sounds. I do care about the mix sometimes, like if I can't hear characters speaking over the sound effects and the music in the film, like that's a little bit frustrating, or when the voices are just too low. But other than that, I feel like it's not really my place to talk about the audio for the film. But I will talk a little bit about how the audio was recorded. I guess it was all recorded in post. I don't think they recorded any audio on set, or in the woods, I should say, while filming this movie. I think everything was dubbed in post, and it really worked. Like it's pretty seamless. There are definitely some sound effects that sound very cartoony and made me laugh. And that's something I really liked about the film, was just how slapstick and goofy the whole thing was. And I think that for this film, and for a film of this budget and of this just style, the insanity that this film is already bringing to the table, dubbing all of the audio after the fact works. And I also really liked the soundtrack for the film. I do want to talk about that very quickly. I guess it was just made by one of Kitamura's childhood friends, just in his room on his computer, and it's very reminiscent of like the Dust Brothers soundtrack for Fight Club in a lot of ways. The music's really funky, it's got some nice beats, and it just fits the mood and feeling of the film really well. I really dug the soundtrack. And I want to talk a little bit about the special features, which are
jam-packed
on this release. There are 2 discs. One disc has the original cut of Versus, the 2-hour cut, and then in 2004, Kitamura actually cobbled together Ultimate Versus, which has, I think, 10 minutes of extra footage. That's on disc 2. I watched the original cut of the film. I haven't watched Ultimate Versus yet, but the first disc especially has 2 audio commentary tracks. It's got a bunch of archival interviews, and behind the scenes, there is a vlog made by the lead actor. His name is Tak Sakaguchi, I believe. He basically is documenting and vlogging himself going to Germany in 2000 when the film was released. There is just a ton of special features on this thing. There are like little short films. It is seriously jam-packed. I really don't have any or many complaints about the special features. One thing that I do like to see that I wish we could have seen was maybe a couple of brand new interviews with some of the actors in the film, because there are a lot of characters in this movie. There are a lot of actors that I think do an awesome job delivering these insane, bonkers performances, and it would have been nice to see them in an interview format reminiscing on their experiences and their memories of making Versus, although there is a commentary track, or 2 commentary tracks actually, that have actors interjecting, and I'm pretty sure they are new commentary tracks. Don't quote me on that, but I think that is correct. So they probably do mention a couple of things here and there, but it would have been nice to just have it in an interview format, just because it's more palatable. And I'll be honest, it's not too often that I listen to commentary tracks, just because once I finish the film, I don't really want to like hit play on it again and watch it again and listen to it again. That's just kind of time consuming. Although I did listen to a good portion of the English spoken commentary track that Kitamura did for Versus, and he's a really funny guy. He had a lot of funny stories about the production of the film and just his relationships with some of the actors, and it was a really good commentary track, and I should really listen to the rest of them. But the special features, really not much to complain about on this package. It's pretty loaded. And now I'll just talk about the packaging a little bit here. It does come with a slipcover. This is a limited edition Arrow Video release. It's very similar to what they did with like Evil Ed and more recently Mallrats, where I think that once they release a standard edition for this film, it probably won't come with the second disc. With Ultimate Versus, it'll probably be a 1-disc set without a slipcover when they do release a standard edition. But the slipcover is really nice. It is a little tiny bit thin, as most of Arrow's are. It's not like Vinegar Syndrome, but the embossing is really nice, and I really do love this newly commissioned artwork. The spine also looks really fantastic on the shelf. And of course, we have the actual case here with the same artwork and same list of special features. Open it up, we have 2 trays for the discs here. We have a little bit of an advertisement for a recent Arrow release, JSA, one I am quite interested in grabbing. And of course, we get a little bit of a booklet here. It has a little bit of an essay by Tom Mez, and it has an interview with Kitamura, the director of the film, and of course, things about the restoration and the credits for this release. And of course, we do have reversible cover art, as always. I like that reversible cover art. Looks pretty nice there. And that's pretty much what you get with the Arrow Video release of Versus. I am a little bit surprised because there's so much packed into the discs that I do like the slipcover and everything and all of that. It's all really nice. But I am surprised that for this film they didn't go with the more hardcover box approach with like a poster and a booklet. I think a poster would have really benefited this release, honestly. It just seems like a film where there is enough content out there and enough love and fandom for it that they could have done a release like I don't know, like the Tremors one. I haven't opened this up yet, but you know, something like this for Versus I think would have made sense, but I still like the way that it's done. Like, it's still a very nice package. I'm still very thankful that it's released and that I've now seen this film because it was just insane and I loved it and it was so much fun. And I can't wait for COVID to be over so I can show it to some of my friends because I think it'll be a very good group film, a very fun, rambunctious time with
the guys.
So that is Versus. I want to thank you all for watching this video. It's not often. I don't even know if I've ever just done a Blu-ray review. Maybe I have. It escapes me right now, but I don't think that I have. But anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're not yet subscribed and you want to be, definitely smack that button and smack that like button wherever it is, because that always helps me out as well. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it a lot, and I will talk to you all later.